Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your damned hosts.
I am John.
And I'm CC, and when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we've got you covered. Today I will once again dive into the world of the occult, where alien spirits and monsters of all kinds linger to snatch your soul, or worse. So join me and two of the most likable protagonists you have ever seen as we brave the wild waters of the new hit show, Dan Da Dan. Since it's our season finale, John and I will of course give you our picks for best of the season. First things first, let's tackle a couple of leftover shows in the quick and the dead. So pack your best running shoes in case you are forced into a game of tag with a high-speed cursed spirit. Don't get too depressed while protecting your golden balls at all costs. And definitely don't pause the pod. We'll be right back. Alright, quick and the dead. I only really have one show to talk about that I watched and that doesn't really merit a full review. Everything else is still running or, from still wrapping up, whatever. Or is gonna get still another season. And so that's of course Blue Lock Season 2. The Return of Soccer Squid Game. Which quickly after couple of training episodes, not many, I think it's like 3, moves into the big match, like the biggest match until now, where our team of ragtag all strikers from the Blue Lock program play against the under 20 team, so under 20 years national Japanese soccer team. It's more Blue Lock. So this second season made me think that 8-bit are stretching themselves a bit thin these days.
Oh no.
A lot less animation and much more heavy on the editing. At times it feels more like a motion comic than anything else. It's only thanks to the other parts of the presentation being so on point, like sharp expressive character designs, the soundtrack, the sound design, and the voice acting that still works mostly. It's not as bad as some of the discussions on Twitter or some of the reviews made it out to be, but that's kind of now the look of the show. And if that's going to be the look of the show going forward, that's a bummer and a definitive downgrade. So I hope it will improve again with the third season. Like, there are some good things in here. Let's not be a complete downer about this. Like, for example, pretty much my only complaint about season 1 was that we didn't have a proper audience for the big reactions and proper atmosphere. That is remedied in this season, as like with the big game against U20 is held in Blue Lock's own stadium, which is goddamn packed. The show just hits it on all cylinders and is really good at conveying the intense atmosphere when the players step on the pitch for the first time. It's like really goosebumps inducing and cool as shit. And you have like these nice interactions with the family members of our team players who are in the audience, and there are like a couple of cute moments that I really liked. And in sports anime, I want an audience reaction. I want, like, especially when it's a team sport thing, right? When you get something like soccer or basketball or whatever, it's just it, or in Haikyuu, for example. It does so much. It does so much of conveying the hype, like getting you into there. And so I missed that from Blue Lock Season 1 a lot, because they just basically played in an empty stadium with no one there and just gray walls. And of course the stadium, also fully packed stadium, looks much better than just the green pitch and gray walls. So just in that regard, the optics of this season and the presentation and everything around it are much better. Then you have this cool dynamic between one of the characters that was introduced pretty late in the first season, Rin Itoshi, and he has this dynamic with our main character, and it's that is pretty cool. And they have they basically build like this strong center striker unit that feeds off each other like a bunch of fucking, I don't know, like some kind of cannibalistic soccer wolves or something like that. It's fucking crazy. Like, everyone feeds off each other's aura, basically kind of crazy shit like that. And they're just trying to develop new plays, and everyone in the team is just like that. And that can lead to hype moments. But like I said, biggest problem, the animation doesn't support that momentum. that is built up once they enter the stadium. Like, it literally doesn't have any. We still get mostly super slowdown scenes that are basically for all intents and purposes still frames. What little motion there is often cursed by being CG, which, to be frank, could be worse. It's at least fluid, but it also feels like it's severely lacking a punch. It's not choppy or anything, but like a lot of other TV CG stuff in anime feels too floaty and weightless. And you want those shots and explosive maneuvers to have a feeling of impact. This doesn't have any of the oomph from season 1. So outside of some special moves like Bachira's special dribble, there was nothing really standing out at the start of the match. Not even the image of a snake suddenly materializing on the field, like as a visual metaphor for U20's main defender stopping Blue Lock's play dead in its track. That wasn't integrated into the presentation with the same insane panache that, season 1 was so good at delivering. And that continues throughout the match. Lots of barely moving characters sometimes, and when you get that rare cool dribble, pass, or goal shot, it's CG legs kicking a CG ball mostly, and it literally looks like they're treading water sometimes. A lot of snazzy effects and intense expression are there on the character faces, and you have the rocking soundtrack, like I said, you have the great voice work by the voice actors. They all try to compensate for that, but they just can't. Especially if the big moments of season 1 are relatively fresh on one's mind, and it's not been that long that I watched that. And that's a bit of a bummer. We know this show can look better because we have seen it 1 season ago. And to be absolutely fair, one of our favorite shows, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, sometimes partially has these issues as well, where there's very limited actual animation on characters in a fight. But the big difference is all the stuff that needs to have impact in JoJo's does, in 90% of the cases. Like, David Production just knows how to underscore the big moments and make them shine, despite the limited animation. And also, JoJo's characters' designs are a lot more complex, so you just need to have the right people at the helm who know what matters, and Blue Lock Season 2 apparently didn't. At least when it comes to the actual plays.
That's too bad.
Yeah. There's this incredibly funny scene I had to screenshot and put on Blue Sky with a full frame shot of the face of Japan U20's Captain Oliver Aiku and him saying, "You're not moving, Blue Lock." And I was like, do they know?
Oh, no.
And if so, does that make it better or worse? But yeah, I don't know who exactly of the crew changed. I think I read somewhere that a lot of the people from season 1 moved over to work on a Reincarnated as a Slime movie, and that would make sense to me. That would explain a lot. So yeah, again, you got some good stuff in there. Like the first goal for Blue Lock by Nagi is pretty damn cool. And that's because it employs the same explosive, traditionally animated style as in season 1. Big surprise there. More of that would have been nice. There is some of that sprinkled in between through the season. There's some really cool hand-animated plays and so on. But, in terms of pure volume, there's not as much cool stuff in this season as there was in season 1. But that was a cool shot. That was a really cool shot. And also his one-liner is super cool. Right after he makes a crazy dribble trick and right before taking a shot, he says, "Nice to meet you, Japan. My name is Nagi Seishiro." Which is then followed by the explosive goal. That's very cool shit. And the crowd reaction is appropriately huge. That's what I want to see.
That just sounds so ridiculous.
It is. But that's the shit that I want to see in my ridiculous sports anime, right? That's what I come here for. Like, I mean, I also like the realistic stuff, but if you give me something outrageous like Blue Lock, that's these are the moments I want. And they're not enough in the second season. To be fair, it's also shorter runtime. It's like only 12 episodes, while the first season had 24. So maybe that also feels like maybe in terms of when compared in terms of base screen presence of cool moments, maybe the percentage isn't even that much lower, but there was just more episodes in season 1, so there was more time to put cool stuff in there. I don't know. But yeah, it's still Blue Lock. It's still super fun. Like, you have these, the evil old geezers of Japan's Soccer Association want to crush the ambitious young team of Ego and his silly new ideas. I mean, they're actually silly, but they're cool, so you get the idea. And it's just like super villains on both sides, I guess. And despite all my complaints about the animation, the match is still very exciting. And like I said, you get a cool brother dynamic between Rin and Sai. Like, Rin is on the side of Blue Lock, Sai is on the side of the U20 team. And they had a falling out as brothers when Rin always following after his big brothers in his brother's footsteps. And they made this promise where Sai is going to become the number 1 striker in the world. And Rin is going to become the number 2 striker in the world, right next to his big brother. That was his dream. And then his brother kind of went back on that and decided, no, I'm not going to do it anymore. And Rin felt betrayed, and now he wants to use this match to kill his brother. That's literally what he says. He doesn't want to kill him. He wants to kill him on the field. But he literally says, I'm going to kill him. It's so stupid.
I don't know how you could differentiate that. But okay.
He wants to kill him with his cool plays, John, with his awesome soccer skills.
Sure.
It's awesome. I love it. It's so stupid and it's so much fun, and I wish it looked better, or at least as good as it is in season 1. You know, you can't have everything. Maybe the next season will look better because the full staff is at hand again, and they can deliver just like they did in season 1. And again, there's some really cool moments sprinkled into the second season. Definitely, I just wish it were more. There were more of them. Just from the perspective of the animation, not story-wise. Story-wise, there's enough there. There's enough character there in the character department to feed on and everything. Enough cool moments, but it would be nice if they looked a bit better, just in general. So we'll see. I will still watch season 3, of course, because I'm enjoying this show so much. But, you know, if I'm just hoping the production values go a bit up again in the next season. We'll see. Please, 8-bit, manage your distribute your available personnel better. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
John, what do you have?
TASUKETSU.
Boy.
This show tried to be a lot of different things, and it started off real interesting with this like death game thing that I talked about, and it had this first or second episode twist where the main character died, except he didn't actually.
Okay, I mean,
and then everyone is trying to play 4D chess against each other, and this, Jesus Christ! I finished watching this show. I don't understand most of what happened because of all the plotting and scheming that was going on. Didn't really make one lick of sense. Because they do away with the death game, and then they sort of bring it back, and then they don't. And then, hey, guess what? The villains were just misunderstood all along. It's like, man, shut up.
Wow. Sounds like a fun time.
It was all about family.
Vin Diesel, is that you?
And it just it started off so strong, and then it just careened off the edge of a cliff in the latter half, where they tried to change the focus to a different character, and it sort of partially worked, but then at the end when it was like, oh, we were able to resurrect the main character anyway, I was like, then what was all of this for?
Sounds like a good question.
So I don't think I could recommend it, and I don't think it was Satellite's best offering, because the animation was kind of pretty inconsistent throughout. So I like to check out their work, but boy, I think this may have been one to pay the bills.
Could be the
case.
You know,
sometimes you just got to do that. In spite of this adaptation, like people were clamoring for an adaptation of this for a long time, and I don't know if this is how the original comic played out, but it seemed like it didn't really land with a lot of the reviews I had read. So it's sitting at a 5.56 on my anime list. Eek.
Yikes.
So, you know, that's
not a strong vote of confidence.
That surely was the thing. Like, I really wanted to like this show, and I stuck with it to the end, and it wasn't worth it. Don't watch this show.
I don't intend to, but thanks for the warning.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we don't say that too often, because I don't like saying that, but boy, oh boy.
Yes, we want to be mostly a positive podcast. We want to encourage people to watch more anime. That's why we're doing this. Like, hey, if you don't have time to watch this, here's this cool show. Maybe you want to check it out. It's always a bummer when we have to tear into a show, really, unless it's funny to tear into it.
Sword art.
Yeah. But, it's always like when there's a show where it's like, hey, this could be cool, and it turns out not to be, it is always a bummer.
Especially when it just train wrecks itself.
Yeah.
That was that. What else was there? It was Magilumiere, which was, the cute magical girl workplace comedy I had been watching. It was neat. And I guess it's coming back for a second season at some point because they ended on a little bit of a cliffhanger where I guess these creatures that are sort of pop up all over the place, these kai, are sort of learning how to evolve. And, they're the magics. They are pulling a Borg and adapting to the magics that are being used on them. So, oh boy, you got to pull out an even bigger gun than the last one. But what does that mean? I wonder if that could be an allegory for something.
One wonders.
But, the characters were still pretty charming all the way through. And, it was very bright and colorful. So, hey, sure, great. I'll probably check out season 2 for that. JC staff, I think, worked a little bit on it. And it's amazing when they actually put in effort. Sometimes they do that. Can you believe it?
I can.
I mean, there's a new Railgun season on the way, so I guess they'll be putting an effort on that again. So, So yeah, I think that was a fun, breezy watch, and I'm looking forward to more of it.
Nice.
Love Live Superstar season 3. I mean, I don't know how to talk about Love Live anymore, but the girls go to China. They put on a big show there. They encourage one of the girls to keep being an idol. 5 of the girls graduate from high school and they leave the school up to the new generation, and that's that pretty much. Not really as poignant as like some of the other Love Live shows, but still enjoyable for what it was. Still pretty. Sunrise is still, doing the good work that they do on Love Live. So, and the last one is Ranma Half, which is also coming back for a second season at some point. But boy, this was also really fun to see because never having watched the original, seeing how ridiculous and goofy this show was a lot of fun. What was it? I think it was Mappa. Mappa definitely put in the work on this one. Hopefully they're still not killing their animators, but old habits die hard.
Yeah, we'll see. But I'm glad you're enjoying it. Like, I mean, considering you haven't really watched the old show and everything, and that brand of kind of old school comedy still works for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was silly, and it was a really quick 12 episodes, so got to meet we kind of got to speed run meeting a lot of the characters, and I feel like the fact that it went as fast as it did worked in its favor. I mean, I guess if you're a fan of the old, this would probably you've seen all of this already, so getting through it like real quick is probably a good thing. But I feel like it worked just as well for someone like me who hadn't seen the original. So the fact that some of the characters can't tell the other transformed characters apart is so goofy. Like, I can't get over it sometimes, but it helps play into how silly it is. Like, it knows exactly what it's trying to be. So
that's worth a lot for any show, really.
Yes. So I like it. I'm looking forward to more of this goofiness. And hey, good times. It was good times. It was fun times. It was silly times. But I think that's everything for my Quick and the Dead. Just to blow through them as quick as possible. So
some exceptions aside, it seems like you had fun with the shows you picked. So there's that.
Yeah, pushing TASUKETSU aside. Everything else was good stuff.
Not you. that meme format.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for the Quick and the Dead. So let's move over to our, I guess, second and final review of this season. Reeling from her recent breakup, Momo Ayase, a popular high schooler, shows kindness to her socially awkward schoolmate Ken Takakura by standing up to his bullies. Ken misunderstands her intentions, believing he has made a new friend who shares his obsession with aliens and UFOs. However, Momo's own eccentric occult beliefs lie in the supernatural realm. She thinks aliens do not exist. A rivalry quickly brews as each becomes determined to prove the other wrong. Despite their initial clash over their opposing beliefs, Momo and Ken form an unexpected but intimate friendship, a bond forged in a series of supernatural battles and bizarre encounters with urban legends and paranormal entities. As both develop unique superhuman abilities, they learn to supplement each other's weaknesses, leading them to wonder if their newfound partnership may be about more than just survival. Thanks MAL Rewrite for this summary. Dandadan is a manga by Yukinobu Tatsu that started publishing in Shonen Jump Plus in April 2021. Counts at this point 18 volumes and is still running. Tatsu also wrote the manga Fire and Ball and Seigi no Rokugo. The TV adaptation of Dandadan started in October last year, and the first half of its first season I will talk about today counts 12 episodes. It is produced and animated by Science Saru, which have come up several times in our show. I reviewed Devilman Crybaby and Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, which I both liked or respected to varying degrees, though I'll probably never watch Devilman Crybaby ever again. Just too depressing, man. They also animated the recent requel of Scott Pilgrim for Netflix, which I liked a whole damn lot. They did a bit for Star Wars Visions and a couple of other things. And in the animation studio landscape, they are definitely a pretty unique entity. Highly influenced by the style of one of their founders, the director Masaki Yuasa, who also directed their Devilman and Eizouken shows. Their animation can be pretty unusual, especially when compared to your standard shonen shows, which, considering that Dandadan is their first big current shonen adaptation, makes this project all the more interesting. All their projects have a very loose, sometimes cartoony, sometimes very bizarre and dark, sometimes very playful animation style and art design to it. You have Devilman Crybaby, which is very dark, dirty, and grotesque. Then there is Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, which revels in the concept of animation itself and the joy its protagonists gain from working in that field, packed to the brim with homages to works that inspired Yuasa and his team. And then you have Scott Pilgrim, which adheres so close to the graphic novel's artwork that it feels like it literally leapt off the page. They are an incredibly versatile studio, stocked to the brim with capable hands. All aspects which had me very excited to see what they could do with a popular new Shonen Jump IP like Dandadan, which I had already heard a lot of positive things about before the anime adaptation was even announced. And when it was, boy did people lose their shit of Science Saru being led at it. The excitement was palpable, not the least on my end. So, did Science Saru deliver? Oh man, did they, and then some. The director is Fuga Yamashiro, who also directed 2 episodes of Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken and some episodes of other shows like Heike's Story, Super Shiro, and Tatami Time Machine Blues. But this is his first full director gig. He is supported by the man, the legend, our boy, Hiroshi Seko, who handled the series composition and adapted screenplay. And of course, he has come up a million times in our show before because he had a hand in a shitload of things we reviewed and loved. Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, Mob Psycho 100, Vinland Saga. If you have Seko on the script and the source material is at least good, your chances of being disappointed are pretty goddamn low. The man just knows how to translate characters, dialogue, and story from the page of a manga to the small screen, without a doubt. For the music, we also got a real heavyweight on the helm in the form of Kensuke Ushio, who has done the soundtrack for Chainsaw Man, Devilman Crybaby, Heavenly Delusion, Ping Pong, Liz and the Bluebird, A Silent Voice, and other stuff. So as you can see, the production staff of this show is out of this world. But what about the story and characters? Well, First, we have Momo Ayase, our main girl, voiced by Shion Wakayama, who voiced Yume in Dana Zenon, and Maria Renard in the Japanese dub of Castlevania Nocturne, apparently. Who knew? And a bunch of other stuff, of course. So Momo gets dumped by her boyfriend because she is broke and doesn't want to put out. That's shitty. Not of hers, but of him. She has a bit of an aggressive, confronting nature when something annoys her. Like when he breaks up with her, she immediately tries to kick him to the head. Give him a good old boot to the head. Someone else in her school experiences both sides of that when she stands up for him to some bullies. The lone otaku in question, who is, by the way, voiced by Natsuki Hanae, so Tanjiro from Demon Slayer, gets the partially wrong impression she does this because, just like him, she's interested in the occult, or at least in the same field of the occult. But unlike him, she doesn't believe in aliens, and unlike her, he doesn't believe in ghosts. So when they dare each other to prove the existence of either, she, of course, gets almost abducted by aliens, and he gets possessed by a ghost. Despite
How fortuitous.
Yeah, as it happens. Despite being in different kinds of peril, the two are able to join forces and help each other out, though, as Momo is able to unleash her, until now, dormant spiritual powers. She can basically manifest like these two giant spirit hands that can grab onto or smash anything like telekinesis stuff, and can also suppress the ghost that has possessed our lone occult otaku, which enables him to use the ghost's power without being taken over by its mind. So they fend off the aliens, escape the spaceship, and then right at the end of the first episode comes the actual twist and drive of the show, which I, or rather MAL Rewrite, gave away in the summary. So Momo has a big crush on this actor called Ken Takakura and wants to find a guy who is just like him. She only hooked up with her ex because he reminded him of that actor. She always drones on about how she will probably never find someone that oozes this exact kind of masculine charm. And then it turns out Occult Kun's name is actually, of course, Ken Takakura. And the way that is revealed in the finale of the first episode is amazing. It's like a big bang shaking her life to the core. And of course, she absolutely can't and doesn't want to deal with that. This is absolutely not the type of character she wants to associate with her idol. And deep down, she is probably afraid to eventually fall for him just because of that name alone. And again, ending up in a relationship she doesn't want. So, she refuses to call Ken by his real name, instead calling him Okarun, because he's into the occult, I guess, from this moment forward. Every time someone else calls him Ken, she gets mad. Okarun has this line he often says, something like, "I'm just an awkward guy," which apparently is, as it happens, a famous line the actor used in at least one of his movies, and Momo absolutely cannot handle Okarun saying it. It's hilarious and very cute. And with that, you have a great dynamic for a very unusual rom-com. And yeah, the two mains are instantly likable, especially in their interactions with each other, and you immediately get the feeling that it actually wants to go somewhere with this blossoming romance. And it's not wasting much time either. I love how the show immediately builds this fantastic chemistry between them, both kind of loud and a bit overzealous / annoying in their own right, but being very passionate and recognizing that in each other. And there's this immediate connection and understanding between them on a certain level. The moment where Momo sits next to Okarun in class to ward off the bullies that are throwing things at him and everything is so good and makes her immediately likable. She just gives them the stare. It's like, you better knock this off or I'm going to punch your heads in. And then he's like, of course, immediately stunned by this behavior of hers. And when he catches up to her, she first also lashes out at him because he's all over her with the alien otaku stuff. And she's in a bad mood due to her breakup. But she instantly realizes she went too far and apologizes and tries to build a connection to his interests by mentioning ghosts, which of course then kind of backfires because he doesn't believe in ghosts, she doesn't believe in aliens, and they start arguing again. But, you know, there's just a moment where two of her Gyaru friends come down the stairs and they look at this scene and they immediately see what the viewer sees and are like, wait, are they into each other? So, very clever girls. Then Momo at some point opens up about when they like investigate the different places. Momo goes to a place where there are aliens, is supposed to be aliens. Okarun goes to a place where there's supposed to be ghosts. And they talk over the phone or walkie-talkie, I'm not sure. And then, I think, no, it's a phone. And then Momo opens up about her grandma and how her grandma made her do the luck ritual, and how Momo got mad at her grandma for having to do it because other kids, and worst, her childhood crush, made fun of Momo for it, even though it turns out she was actually mad at the kids for making fun of her grandma, not for making fun of her. But she was a child, so it wasn't so easy to understand and act on back then. And since then, the relationship to her grandma has been kind of strained. They're kind of at odds with each other and everything. And then on the other side, we have Okarun, who doesn't immediately open up to her. But when the aliens capture her, he basically vomits out his reason for wanting to be friends with aliens to her and them. Because he was bullied so much, he wanted to believe aliens were real, so he could become friends with them instead, which is super sad, but is also a very heartfelt moment, which is also the reason he didn't want to miss the chance to make a friend. So he verbally geek vomited all over Momo when she stood up for him, because he just wanted to be friends with her so goddamn much, because she was the first person who really showed interest in him in a way. And it wasn't necessarily about him sharing his love for the occult, but more so that he was able to talk about that stuff with passion and confidence to someone who was nice to him. So you have this already great set of characters, both with their understandable amount of emotional baggage, who just get each other on a very fundamental level, but definitely have some trouble acting on this intangible connection in the right way, which is where the comedy, a bit of the drama, but also a lot of the emotional high points and depth in the show are derived from. Speaking of drama, I love the way the series bypasses a lot of the standard drama traps. For example, in the 5th episode, it's the first time of Okarun and Momo seeing each other at school after their first set of adventures. And Okarun is very self-conscious and doesn't know how to treat Momo in public because he doesn't want to embarrass her or himself by her having to associate with him because, you know, he's a loser and she's a popular girl. So when she waits at the gate, obviously for him, he is just walking past her and intentionally ignoring her. But she gets what he's doing and is just doing a soft tackle and saying, "You're late, let's go." The look of joy on Okarun's face when he realizes she's still willing to be his friend out in the open is so goddamn precious. You're gonna melt away. It's really good. And the show is also so good at conveying the real-life desire to just endlessly talk about the common interest with this amazing person that just entered your life, and that you have this previously unknown feeling of an emotional connection towards. Both of them can barely tolerate sitting in class because they can't see and talk to each other since they are in different classrooms. It's so goddamn cute. And don't get me wrong, there is drama in this rom-com, obviously. In the same episode, actually. And misunderstandings. Not my favorite plot device, as you are aware, John.
No, same.
But you know what? These misunderstandings are resolved in the course of one episode every time, and you'll never guess what outrageous tool the show uses to accomplish that incredible feat.
What do they do?
It has the characters just talk to each other to clear things up.
What?
Crazy concept. I know, outlandish.
Wow, that's...
Yes, it's out there, I know.
Novel.
Although, I gotta say, it's a bit ridiculous that due to all of his fascination with finally being able to make a friend, it takes Okarun several episodes to notice that Momo is cute. Like, what the hell?
I mean, you know, sometimes people are like that.
Yeah,
they don't, really pay attention to the physical.
I get it, but like, making friends is cool, but you should definitely be aware when you made a hot friend. Come on now. So we got these two, which are already enough to carry the show, to be honest. But then you add some other cool characters into the mix, and things really start popping off. You got Momo's way too hot grandma Seiko, who is, as already established, a spirit medium. She's also a total badass with the baseball bat often. Voiced by Nana Mizuki, so Tsubasa from Symphogear. She is obsessed with this one comedian. Obsession with celebrities seem to run in the family, I guess. She, of course, acts as a somewhat unwilling mentor and a guide to our two main characters, helps them develop their powers, gets them out of some hairy situations. Her house is basically the HQ. She's very cool and funny. In general, this show is incredibly funny. Like, we're talking laugh out loud dialogue, slapstick puns, and non sequitur humor bangers one after another. Add to that all the crazy, funny, and sometimes very scary designs of the aliens, ghosts, and monsters, and you are basically bombarded nonstop with cool visual shit in this series, especially in the fights, of course. It's just a super energetic, great-looking show. Science Saru is, as expected, as usual, on point when it comes to hyper-expressive faces and body animation. For some, their design choices might be too cartoony at times, but I love it to bits. It's just so much fun to look at. You sometimes also get these very pretty naturalistic backgrounds as a counterpoint here. Like there's the scene with the forest and hills surrounding a cursed tunnel, which look very pretty. So it's not always super cartoony. And the action scenes are fucking insane. A lot of twists and turns because the powers of our team's opponents work in very specific ways. And the presentation is, of course, top-notch. There is the big confrontation with Turbo Granny, the ghost that possessed Okarun in the 4th episode, where our two leads are chased by her, zombies, and a giant enemy crab.
I'm sorry.
Yes, none of this was a lie, John. And then, even though, I'm spoiling stuff, but I need to say this, even though he is almost out of juice, Okarun transforms one final time into his possessed form, and an EDM/techno version of the Wilhelm Tell Overture starts playing. He starts running and the show goes wild. It's magnificent. I knew Science Saru was capable of good action scenes. They showed it in Devilman Crybaby, Scott Pilgrim, and partially Keep Your Hands Off Asakin, but this is on another level. It's so much fun. And the musical choice is not a coincidence if a comment on the YouTube clip of that scene is to be believed. I didn't verify it, but it does seem to make sense. That track or kind of music is apparently often used in school track and field races in Japan. So, there's your reference. And they used that actually twice, so that's pretty damn cool. The fight in the 9th episode had me jump back and forth between cheering and howling. It's so cool, but also so funny, crazy, and stupid. A fantastic mix of intense action with cool choreography, wild visuals, insane physics, and very dumb, but also very funny jokes. A real blast all around. Like, it's one of the best things I've seen in recent times. Just so good. And the story itself, as you might already guessed from the setup and everything, is wacky as hell and has some definite Mob Psycho 100 vibes in the best way possible. Though instead of broccoli, we have a focus on bananas. Like, the aliens are after the banana organs of humans, so reproductive organs, I guess. Which is also pretty much the only thing I didn't like in the 1st episode and in the show in general is the alien abduction stuff being too rapey for my taste. Like the aliens have like these robo-scorpion dick apparatus thingies, and those are absolutely not necessary. They're scary, all right. Like, if you want to get scary, those aliens look fucking scary when they do this shit. Even though they
super uncomfortable. Yes,
and even though they look in their real forms pretty goofy, and when they're like hidden, they're like have these weird salaryman bodies or office man bodies with big heads and everything. But they're still super eerie and creepy. Like I said, it could be something right out of Mob Psycho 100. But, you know, you have Momo getting stripped naked, not completely naked, but in her underwear and tied down and then threatened with these metal monstrosities growing out of the alien's groin areas. I don't know why anime still has such a problem with grasping that sexual assault as a very low success rate when it comes to being a hilarious punchline, especially these days. Maybe Shonen Jump didn't get the memo, but thankfully that is turned around very quickly. It comes up again later in a later episode, but also there it's immediately diffused or rather dismantled. So that was a relief. But, you know, be aware of that. Like, just the imagery, nothing comes of it, really. Like, there's no actual sexual assault in that regard or anything. But, and it's, you know, most of that is counterbalanced by some form of legit humor. But, you know, it's still a very fucked up piece of imagery. It's just saying that. And just the implications are horrible. The more funny side of this kind of humor, I guess, is Turbo Granny stealing Okarun's dick and later his balls, which gives our characters some urgency to beat her and get Okarun's junk back. And yes, all of this is as stupid and hilarious as it sounds. But we also got some cool lore sprinkled in here. Like aliens and evil spirits maybe have some common origin because the evil spirit doorbell at Momo's grandma's place reacts to a giant sumo alien, and Momo is able to kill it with talismans. Also, the aliens might, or yokai as well, might be beholden to the rules of their chosen form. Like the sumo alien can't touch the ground with its hand or the hands dissolve. It's pretty cool. Momo constantly needs to control the curse and stop Okarun from turning, which makes the battles more tense, because kind of limited in a way. And when Momo keeps Okarun's mind intact and lets him unleash the full power of the Turbo Granny curse, he turns into this half demon with a half face mask with giant teeth and looks very ragged and is super fast and strong. However, in that form, he is also super depressed in a very funny way. And also, it takes a big toll on his human body, so he can't use it for too long. So there's a limit on that as well. Momo's psychic powers, on the other hand, enable her to see the aura of things and living things. She can subdue and move the auras and everything they envelop in a very limited area. And since, like I already said, her powers manifest in the form of giant hands, she can also do other stuff like grabbing, pulling, and throwing things, which opens the battles up to a lot of dynamic, cool shit with heavy use of her environment, which is always neat and exciting to see. Then we have Turbo Granny, formerly 1000 Kilo Granny, who becomes a side character in her own right, is a strong yokai spirit, voiced by Mayumi Tanaka, so Luffy from One Piece and Krillin from Dragon Ball. They find a reason for her to stick around in the show, which also adds a fun tool for the show to easily explain away some plot conveniences. And I'm very interested to learn about her backstory, which so far they have only teased. And then at the halfway and end point of this first core, respectively, we get 2 additional characters to round out the main cast, Aira and Gigi. Aira ostensibly is a horrible, incredibly shallow person with severe main character syndrome.
Oh boy.
I'm being overly mean, of course. She actually has a good heart, but that doesn't show in the beginning. Also, she's a giant idiot. Voiced by Ayane Sakura, so Gabi from Attack on Titan and Ochako from My Hero Academia. She picks up one of Okarun's lost balls by chance, don't ask. Starts seeing spirits and thinks herself a magical girl that is destined to save the day. It is very funny that she is basically fondling Okarun's severed golden ball the entire episode. She is...
That's a series of words.
Yes. It's like she's sitting at her desk in her classroom and just the golden ball. It looks just like a marble, but, the implication is there. And she's just rubbing it between her hands. It's like...
Jesus Christ.
It's so funny. Yes, very naughty humor in this show. But in a very good way. Mostly.
So.
Yeah, in a very good way, mostly. So, there's this. It's not attached to his body, so there's that. But
yes,
but still, yes. And this all results in a clash between her and Momo, who Aira is convinced is a demon. But then an actual ghost/yokai shows up due to reasons I don't want to give away. But this is also where we learn that yokai are not just mindless hulking monsters. In episodes 6 and 7, the set of episodes where Aira is the main focus, the gang encounters the spirit of a woman. And in one breathtaking and heartbreaking montage, we learn both about how she and Aira came to be how they are, and how one moment in time connected their existences. It's a masterful act, both from a presentation and storytelling perspective, and a real tearjerker. I love that scene. Fantastic. Although the upbeat ED gave me total whiplash on that episode. Even outside of that, the ED is great. The OP is great too. And especially the ED, I let always run from beginning to end because it's really, really fun. It's Taidada by Zutomayo. Okay, yeah. So that's good shit. DOP Otonoke by Creepy Nuts is great as well. So we got her. And then at the very tail end of this core, we get Jin, Gigi, and Joji, voiced by Kaito Ishikawa, so either from My Hero Academia or Genos from One Punch Man. Gigi is Momo's childhood friend and her first love. He's very flashy and chuny and obnoxious, but his humor and way to talk to the ladies has Grandma Seiko fully backing him, so he is here to stay. So now we have this love triangle quartet. With Aira having the hots for Okarun, Gigi having the hots for Momo, Momo being a bit torn between her feelings for Okarun and Gigi, and Okarun definitely having feelings for Momo, but not being confident enough to, at this point, consider her anything beyond a friend or even a real romantic option, period. He's trying, though. Hashtag it's complicated. Like, Okarun feels threatened by Gigi because he and Momo, of course, have a repertoire and shared memories and in-jokes that Okarun doesn't feel like he can compete with. Of course, that gets even more complicated when Okarun realizes that Gigi shares the same interest in the occult that he does, and they could actually become really good friends. And this is basically where the first core just ends, in the middle of the introductory episodes for Gigi, where he, Momo, and Okarun investigate Gigi's house because it might be cursed or possessed by something. We're getting core 2 in summer, and I urge you all to check out the first half until then, because this is one of the coolest, most visually striking, funniest, and heartfelt shows I've seen in quite a while, and with amazing characters to boot. A romantic couple with amazing chemistry. Believe the hype. The show is the real deal. You can watch it all on Crunchyroll or Netflix, depending what region you're in. Also, some other services. And please, please do so. Momo and Okarun are so cute together. They must be protected at all costs. Let these kids into your heart. You will not regret it. I promise you that. And with this, we have reached the end of our reviews for this season. But as usual, there's just one more thing to do. Best of the season! All right, John, best of the season time. What you got? I mean, we only have 2 shows, so...
Yeah, the choices are a little limited.
Yes.
And I mean, there's always the stuff in the quick and the dead, but,
yes.
You know, I don't feel like a lot of that really stuck as much as... Of course, nothing like that ever really sticks like the stuff that we mainly talk about.
Yes.
So, I mean, it sounds like you had fun with Dan Da Dan.
I did.
And we both thought Mecha Ude was, you know, a good time.
We did.
So I guess my pick is Mecha Ude.
Yes, and my pick is Dan Da Dan, obviously. So
that makes it pretty simple. I mean, you know, Mecha Ude was a lot of fun. It moved like 1,000,000 miles an hour, but it worked surprisingly well for that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I still am like, boy, it was really cool to see this like little Kickstarter indie project get turned into what it is. And I think, you know, they did a good job. And I don't know if it's possible to see more of it because, you know, the story was what it was. But, you know, if the studio comes back to do other things in the future, that I'd like to see. So
I would like to see both. I would like to see them do other stuff, but also I wouldn't mind another season of Mechanical Arms.
I mean, if they can make it work, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they teased some potential story development stuff in like the very end credits of the final episode, where it's like, hey, this is where it could go next. This is what could happen. And I wouldn't mind to see a full season of that. So we'll see. I enjoyed that show a lot as well, and thought it was super fun. So yeah, definitely more of that studio. More cool Kickstarter projects that turn into actually cool full shows.
Yeah.
Just do that. Make that happen. I want these success stories. And yeah, I mean, I just fucking fawned over Dan Da Dan for quite a while, so you already know everything there is to say about that show. I am so looking forward to when it continues in summer. Maybe I will be able to convince John to catch up with me. I will do my best, listeners.
I mean, will. Maybe I'll try. I mean, there's actually a surprising number of spring shows I want to at least look at, but you know,
yes, we'll see what happens.
I'll see what sticks, and I'll see how much time I have.
Yes, but either way, please, dear listeners, check out any of those 2 shows, both preferably, because they're worth it, and they're also small shows, both only 12 episodes, I think. Mechanical Arm Mecha Ude also only had 12, right? Or was it 13?
It was 12, yeah.
12. So, see, there you go. Quick watch for both of them, and then you're just in time to caught up to check out the second half of the first season of Dan Da Dan, and I'm so excited to see where the show is going next. And yeah, I guess that's it for this season. We're probably also gonna have a short season against next time. Well, though, one episode more probably. So, we'll see you soon for the sneak peek of spring season 2025. And until then, enjoy springtime, I guess, and see you soon.
See you then, everyone.
And that is a wrap on the 164th episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our podcast is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to virt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Find us where all the podcasts live, but also check out animebrainfreeze.com for our review index and more. Please leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice if you can. Follow us on the socials or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next episode. Macht's gut.
Take care, everybody. Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
It's a mystical adventure
in a demonic wonderland.